Singapore's Changi Airport ranks #1 in the world 7 consecutive years. Best airport for customer service, best airport for facilities, best airport for connections, best airport for efficiency. The architecture gleams, the plants are perfectly maintained, the shops are pristine. The restaurants are excellent, the Wi-Fi is fast, the staff smile genuinely, the signage is clear, everything functions flawlessly. 65 million passengers pass through annually. Every one of them experiences world-class service. Every one of them experiences something else too, though most never consciously recognize it. They experience the most sophisticated surveillance apparatus ever built into an airport. They experience a system designed not just to move people efficiently, but to know exactly who they are, where they're going, what they're carrying, and what they plan to do when they arrive. The airport was built as Singapore's response to geographic vulnerability. A small island with no natural resources cannot survive through agriculture or industry. It must become a hub, a point through which money, goods, and people flow, an entrepot. The port came first, the airport came second. Both designed to concentrate global flows through a single choke point. Once those flows concentrate, whoever controls the choke point gains extraordinary power. They know what moves, where it moves to, and who moves it. They can monitor, tax, regulate, and ultimately control global commerce passing through their territory. Changi Airport is the physical manifestation of this strategy. It is economic power made concrete. But economic power concentrated in a single point requires absolute control of that point. A malfunction, a security breach, a labor disruption, a terrorist attack, any disruption ripples through global supply chains. 3% of global trade flows through the Strait of Malacca adjacent to Singapore. Another significant portion passes through Changi. The concentration of power is immense. The vulnerability is equally immense. Absolute control becomes not just desirable but necessary. This requires surveillance infrastructure that would make intelligence agencies envious. The biometric system started with passports, facial recognition at immigration gates, fast and efficient. Citizens move through in seconds, but the system records every entry and exit. The AI notes patterns, who travels frequently, where they go, who travels with whom, what times they depart. This data feeds into databases. Over time, movement patterns become predictable, anomalies become detectable. A person who travels every month to Bangkok, suddenly traveling to Syria triggers algorithms, not because of the action itself, but because it deviates from the pattern. The system is designed to notice the unusual by understanding the usual perfectly. The security procedures go far beyond standard airport security. Random bag checks are not random. The selection is algorithmic. The AI predicts which bags contain concerning items based on passenger profiles, origin cities, destinations, companion travelers, previous travel patterns. A passenger from a particular country matching a particular risk profile traveling to a particular destination gets more intense screening. The risk assessment happens before the person arrives at the airport. The screening is predetermined. The appearance of randomness disguises the determinism. The facial recognition systems installed throughout the airport create a continuous video record of every person's movement through the terminal, from entry through exit. The resolution is high enough to identify individuals from distance. The coverage is comprehensive, no blind spots. Movement through the airport can be reconstructed in complete detail. When did you arrive? Where did you go? Who did you encounter? How long did you stay at each location? What did you purchase? What did you read? Who did you speak with? All of this becomes data. All of this is stored. The retailers participate in surveillance without knowing they're part of a system. Every purchase is tracked. Every transaction is recorded. Every credit card swipe is logged. The airport authorities can reconstruct exactly what you bought, when you bought it, and how much you spent. A person who purchases 5 different newspapers from 5 different newsstands while waiting for a flight to Malaysia is noting something. A person who buys large quantities of currency exchange suggests something. A person who purchases items associated with particular countries or religions or groups is flagged. The retail data feeds into the security apparatus. The Wi-Fi requires registration, your email address, your phone number, your nationality, your passport number, the hotel where you're staying, the purpose of your visit. All of this information is collected. The Wi-Fi monitors your browsing history while connected, the websites you visit, the searches you perform, the emails you send. All of this becomes part of your profile. A person researching political dissidents in their home country while at Changi Airport is noted. A person researching how to move money across borders is flagged. A person researching minority rights issues in particular countries is recorded. The staff themselves are part of the surveillance apparatus, thousands of employees trained in observation. They notice things, which passengers seem nervous, which seem to have too much luggage, which seem to be helping someone else through the airport, which seem unfamiliar with travel procedures, which seem to be avoiding eye contact or avoiding particular areas. This information feeds back through channels. A passenger who seems nervous and has multiple passports gets attention. A passenger who has been to particular countries and is traveling to others gets attention. The observations are subjective but systematic. The airport's control room monitors everything. Video feeds from every angle, passenger flow data from every gate, real-time identification from facial recognition, immigration officers access to global databases, customs authority with inspection authority, police presence throughout, military presence in secure areas, intelligence agency presence that's never officially acknowledged. The layers of surveillance create a panopticon. Everyone is potentially being watched. Everyone knows they might be watched. This knowledge changes behavior. People are more cautious, more compliant, more likely to conform to expectations. The migrant workers who clean, service, and maintain the airport experience surveillance differently. Immigration status tied to employment. A complaint about working conditions can result in termination and deportation. The surveillance is not just electronic, but structural. A worker who reports safety violations risks their visa. A worker who organizes with other workers risks their legal status. The workers are documented through their employment. Their movements are tracked through their accommodations. Their finances are monitored through their bank accounts. The surveillance apparatus serves to control them absolutely. The luggage handling system tracks every bag. Radio frequency identification tags on the luggage allow tracking from check-in through loading. Where is your luggage at every moment? Who handled your luggage? How many times was it screened? What route did it take? If luggage goes missing, the system can reconstruct exactly where it was last detected. If luggage is tampered with, the system might reveal when and by whom. This level of tracking capability means authorities can know what you're traveling with in ways that would have been impossible before technology made it feasible. The aircraft themselves are monitored, which passengers are on which flights, their seat assignments, their boarding times, their behavior during boarding. Flight crew report anything unusual. A passenger who is visibly nervous, a passenger who asks unusual questions, a passenger who pays in cash, a passenger who checks unusual items. This information feeds back. Over time, profiles of normal versus abnormal flight behavior accumulate. The AI learns what suspicious looks like. The next suspicious passenger gets additional scrutiny. The connections between Changi and other airports create surveillance networks that extend globally. Intelligence shared with partner countries. A person flagged in Changi gets reported to their destination airport. A person flagged in another airport gets reported when they arrive at Changi. The system is not isolated. It's part of a global apparatus. Five Eyes intelligence sharing, Interpol databases, FBI watch lists. All of this connects through airports. Move through Changi and you enter a global surveillance system that tracks your movement across borders. The foreign intelligence agencies operating out of Changi conduct surveillance that goes beyond what Singapore officially acknowledges. CIA, MI6, French DGSE, Israeli Mossad, all of these services use Changi as a hub for regional intelligence operations. They monitor passenger flows looking for agents of interest. They conduct operations against targets traveling through. They recruit assets. They conduct electronic surveillance. All of this happens in plain view, hidden in the ordinary functioning of the airport. A person meeting an intelligence agent at Changi thinks they're having a normal conversation. They don't know they're being monitored by multiple countries. The data from Changi feeds into Singapore's broader surveillance apparatus. The Immigration Office shares data with the police. The police share data with the Internal Security Division. The Internal Security Division shares data with the Prime Minister's office. The data about where people travel, when they travel, where they go, who they meet, creates a comprehensive portrait of movement and association. Over time, the data reveals patterns of political affiliation. A person who regularly travels to countries with active opposition movements is noted. A person who corresponds with activists is noted. A person who attends particular conferences is noted. The travel patterns become political profiling. The airport's role in geopolitics cannot be overstated. Global commerce flowing through Changi means Singapore has visibility into global supply chains. What is being shipped where, by whom, to whom, for what purposes? The disruption of these flows can be weaponized. A supply chain critical to another country can be disrupted by controlling Changi. A country dependent on particular goods flowing through Singapore becomes vulnerable to Singapore's political demands.
I'm tired.
The airport is not just economic infrastructure, it's
Aruba.
geopolitical leverage. The tourism that flows through Changi feeds Singapore's economy. The money that tourists spend supports businesses, but the tourists themselves become part of Singapore's surveillance apparatus. Their movements tracked, their spending patterns recorded, their behavior monitored. Some return home and discuss what they experienced. Others carry data, digital devices that were connected to Changi Wi-Fi, data that could be extracted by intelligence agencies. Tourists think they're just traveling through an airport. They don't realize they're assets in a larger intelligence operation. The border control aspects of Changi extend Singapore's authority far beyond its territorial waters. Singapore can deny boarding, Singapore can require particular visas, Singapore can impose health requirements, Singapore can declare people personae non gratae. The power to control who enters and exits Singapore means the power to control Singapore's relationship with the world. A person deemed undesirable by Singapore cannot enter. A person deemed suspicious by Singapore cannot use Changi to connect. This power to exclude is absolute. There is no appeal. There is no process. There is only the determination of the authorities. The normalization of surveillance at Changi makes people accept it as normal. The system is so efficient that people enjoy their experience. They don't feel surveilled. They feel well served. The airport is beautiful. The staff are helpful. The facilities are clean. The efficiency is impressive. The surveillance is invisible. People return home and recommend Changi to others. They don't mention that their every movement was tracked. They don't mention that their data was collected. They don't mention that they were profiled and assessed. They mention the cleanliness, the efficiency, the service. The experience was positive. The surveillance was invisible. This is the Changi Effect. Perfect service masking perfect control. The airport represents the future of governance, a system where control is so complete that coercion is unnecessary. People move through the system freely because they want to. They choose to be there. They choose to comply. The system doesn't force compliance. It makes compliance feel like choice. The surveillance is so invisible that people don't experience it as surveillance. They experience it as service. They are happy to surrender information because they receive something in return. A smooth journey, quick processing, good customer service. The exchange feels fair. The person chooses to surrender data because the benefit feels worth it. This model extends beyond airports. It extends to cities, to ports, to borders, to entire populations. Anywhere people concentrate, surveillance can concentrate. Anywhere people move, movement can be tracked. Anywhere people transact, transactions can be recorded. The Changi Effect is the perfection of surveillance capitalism, the system that serves you so well that you willingly hand over everything that can be tracked, monitored, and recorded. You feel grateful for the service. You never consider the cost. The cost is your data. The cost is your autonomy. The cost is your privacy, but the service is so good that the cost seems worth it.